Hi everyone, and welcome to another story time with Miss Ariel. This week we are going to be reading about Fairy Tales Part 2. Now, something I'm going to do a little bit different this week, and I'm going to do it throughout the rest of the summer reading program, is talk about the crafts that you can pick up every week and make that are collaborated with our story times. So since we're doing fairy tales, we're going to make magic wands. So when you come pick these up, you get a dowel rod, you get the stuff to make your star for the top of your wand, and you get to decorate however you like, and of course your ribbon. And it comes with instructions and it tells you how to make it, so fear not, we shall make sure that you make your magic wands this week. And now we're going to jump into the stories this week, okay? For our first story, I'm going to read Princess Frog by Enrin Richmont and Gallion Bernstein. Princess Miranda was tired of being a princess. She was tired of dressing up. She was sick of crowns and jewels. "You have to wear them," said the queen, "because you are a princess." "They give me such a headache," Miranda complained. One day she went to go see her godmother, who was a witch. "Turn me into something different," she begged. So Miranda's godmother turned her into a frog. Miranda liked being a frog. She liked floating on lily pads and leaping through the leaves and catching flies. One evening, she leaped into a park where a young gardener was working. "Look at that frog," the gardener said to his friend. "Let's catch it and keep it in the lily pond." The next morning, the gardener went to look at his very own frog. Miranda was leaping around. The gardener laughed. "If I found a girl as funny as you, I might even marry her," he joked. "Take me home," croaked Miranda. "A frog that speaks?" said the gardener, surprised. So the gardener took Miranda back to his cottage, and she sat beside him in a bowl. "If you give me a kiss," said Miranda, "I might even turn into a princess." "I don't kiss frogs," said the gardener, but he did anyway. And suddenly a pretty girl stood beside him, and he fell deeply in love. "Princess Frog, will you marry me?" he said. But Miranda wasn't quite sure. "No more dressing up?" she asked. The gardener laughed. "Jeans and a t-shirt for you, my love." "No more crowns?" said Miranda. "They give me such a headache." The gardener laughed. "No crowns here." "And I'll need to keep leaping," Miranda added. "I'll build you a trampoline," promised the gardener. "Okay," said Miranda. "If I don't have to dress like a princess, I will marry you." And so they were married, though the queen did not approve of Miranda's wedding outfit. And of course, they lived happily ever after. But every once in a while, Miranda slipped back into her frog skin and floated happily on a lily pad in the pond. The end. For our next story, I'm going to read Sleeping Beauty, 100 Years Later by Laura North and Gary Northfield. A long time ago, a king and queen had a beautiful baby daughter. "Let's have a big party to celebrate," said the king. They invited everyone in the kingdom, but they forgot to invite one fairy. She burst into the party in a rage. "I curse your daughter! She will cut her finger and fall asleep for 100 years. Only a prince can wake her." "That will teach them to forget me," she thought as she flew away. The king and queen were terrified. "No sharp things!" screamed the queen, taking the knife and fork away. "No playing outdoors," said the king. The princess wasn't allowed to do anything. She was miserable. When the princess reached her 18th birthday, the king and queen had let her wander around the castle, and she found a room with an old spinning wheel. The princess was curious, and she tried making some thread on the spinning wheel. "Ouch!" she cried. She had pricked her finger on the needle, and suddenly she fell into a deep sleep. Everyone else fell asleep too. Years passed, and cobwebs covered the castle. And 100 years later, a prince wearing sunglasses drove up to the castle. He talked on a cell phone, he listened to music in earphones, and he wore jeans. A lot had changed while the princess had been asleep. The prince found the princess. What a beauty, he thought. He went over and kissed her. "Are you my prince? My true love?" asked the princess, waking up. "Just call me Harry," the prince said. "I'd like to take you on a date." "A date?" said the princess. "I wonder what that is." And Harry took her outside. Everything looked different. "Is this your carriage? Where is the horse?" asked the princess. "No need for one of those," said Harry, starting the engine. "Let's go to the amusement park," Harry said. The princess whizzed around upside down on a roller coaster. "I've never had so much fun in my life," she cried. Harry gave her a single red rose. A thorn on the rose cut her finger. "Oh no! What will happen to me now?" cried the princess. "Will I sleep for another 100 years?" "No. Here's a Band-Aid," said Harry, and he stuck it on her finger. The princess smiled. Life was so much better 100 years later. The end. I think that was a good one. What do you guys think? For the last story for this week, I'm going to finish up with Hansel and Gretel and the Green Witch by Laura North and Chris Javons. Hansel and Gretel liked to watch TV. "What's on next?" said Hansel, asked Gretel. "I don't know," said Hansel. "Pass the potato chips." Hansel and Gretel also liked to eat. They wolfed down cookies and gobbled cupcakes. Their father, the woodcutter, was worried. "My children will never move from that sofa." One day, the woodcutter thought of a plan. "I will lay out a trail of donuts to lead the children into the forest," he said. "They'll eat them all, and then they'll have to get some exercise to make their way back home." The donut trail lay gleaming in the sunlight, a cream-filled path with raspberry icing. "Yum," said Gretel, one by one. They ate the donuts, leading them into the middle of the forest. "It's gotten dark," said Hansel. "I'm still hungry," said Gretel, even though she'd eaten 23 donuts. Suddenly, they saw a house. "I think it's made of vegetables." "Yuck," cried Gretel. A witch suddenly appeared. "Is that a donut?" she croaked. "I like to eat children, but only active, healthy ones." The children started to run, but the witch easily caught up with them. First, she forced the children to do an obstacle course. "Please don't make us do any more exercise," begged Hansel. But the next day, she made them swim laps in the lake. "I can't swim another stroke," cried Gretel. "Give me 10 push-ups for complaining," cried the witch. On the third day, the witch made them jump over hurdles and throw heavy iron balls and run a half marathon. "You're starting to look good enough to eat," said the hungrily witch. "I'm so hungry I could eat a house," said Gretel. She started to tear off the roof. Hansel and Gretel ate the vegetable door, the vegetable chimney, and the vegetable table. The children looked fit and healthy. "Now you're ready to be my dinner," said the witch. But Hansel and Gretel were full of energy. "You can't catch us," they shouted, and they sped away. Hansel and Gretel ran all the way home. They told their father what had happened. The woodcutter was glad to see them. "I'm sorry for sending you into the forest," he said. "I just wanted you to get some exercise." And that night, Hansel and Gretel turned off the television. They cooked a big healthy meal made from bits of the witch's house that they had taken with them. The end. I will see you all next week for another story time. Until then, bye.